A strategy all your own. I chose two different artists that I'm working with now that, as you can see with Brin Joy, there's the DIY strategy, and then you have Hardy, who started his career on our record label in partnership. And I want to walk through a few different things that apply, the same things apply to each artist, even though their music couldn't be more polar opposite. While projects are different creatively, many strategies apply across the board. I say it to our artists all the time. You know, they'll come in and they'll tell me how different they are. And while that's true, and I hope that's true, some things we say back to them is, well, that might be, your music might sound a little different, and you look different, and you sound different, and that's what's special about you, but there's some of the same blocking and tackling that goes into every artist projects and some things that you can't change. It's really a challenge of how do you break your creativity in the marketplaces where creativity is being broken. Don't try to outgame the system. Look for some of the strategies and techniques that you see on other projects. Don't be afraid to mimic those. That's the sincerest form of flattery. I still do it. We're running a record label with 15 artists, a management company with 10 more. And to this day, I let myself get marketed to. I'll write notes down myself about something I noticed, whether it's artwork, whether it's the way they spelled a song title, anything that makes it stand out and it's a little bit different that caught my attention. I'm taking notes, and I think you guys should do the same after you leave here today. Go back to where you're listening to music and jot ideas down that you may not use for a couple years, but they will all come back around because you're a student of the game. If I had to pick 6 boxes that I'm gonna check if I'm looking to sign an act or work the act, or the boxes that if I'm trying to help develop an act, the ones that I need to help them answer: audio, video, live performance, team, fan discovery, and a multiple phase marketing approach. Audio. What does the music sound like? What makes it different? What makes it fresh? Fresh is a big thing. How are you gonna stand out within your own environment? If you're a country artist, how is your brand of country slightly different? Go study the genre. Go up and down the top playlists and find out what the leading songs sound like. Not to mimic it, but to know what's out there. Your visuals, what do they look like? What's gonna make you fresh, unique, but more importantly than trying to overthink it and be different, are you authentic and are you consistent? We tell our artists that all the time. Find your mode of authenticity. Don't be afraid to show exactly who you are, but most importantly, stay consistent. Because fans, you guys are fans, you wouldn't be here if you weren't. The artists that you like, there's reasons why you like them. And there are different reasons for different artists, but I would say in most circumstances, if it feels inauthentic to you, if it feels try hard, human nature is that's a complete turnoff. And we're guilty of it just the same. We don't bat it, no one bats 1,000, right? We've all had moments where we just swung and missed on something, and maybe when I look back for misses, it's probably because we were trying a little too hard. Live performance. Can the artist recreate the audio experience live in a live setting? That's obvious, but it's crucial. A good artist can become great with a lot of work and focus and reps, and you can't be afraid to just put in the work to be great live. That's literally what it boils down to. It comes easier to some than others, but man, it still takes work. Team. Who is on the team and who else is needed? I know a lot of these sound cliche, but they're cliche for a reason. When I met Brin, he had 0 team. And I told him, I said, the promise I'll make to you is we will build an A+ team. Every person that sits around you in each of their respective categories will be best in class, and you'll have picked them, but you'll only be put best in class people, and they will help you achieve your goals. Fan discovery. Where are the fans and where will they discover the music? Where does it need to be? That's on the people putting the music out to either know that ahead of time, which you'll see that we kind of had an idea of that on Hardy, and then maybe you don't know. Maybe Brin knew that it was gonna be an R&B record, but he didn't know specifically who was gonna be picking it up, and then that's why you have a multiple phase marketing approach. Brin Joy. If you couldn't tell, I'm a little excited about Brin. You know, Brin wrote his first song a year ago. He wrote a song called Drag Race, and the way in which he came about music, I thought was so unique. And once he had written a couple songs and had some pretty funky demos that didn't really seem like hit arrangements, he found a friend of his, Co.Lab, and he took it to him. He made the album for $500 in Caleb's bedroom at night. And Caleb was, still is, or just finished, he was an IT coder here in town. And I say that because that should be encouragement to those of you who are still making music in your bedroom. Everything I'm about to say in this project was made in a friend's bedroom, and that, to me, that's cool. You don't need all the bells and whistles. You need inspiration and you need execution, and the two of them together, that's what they found. I put this up here, and Brin could stand here and challenge me on a few things, and he might be right. His audio was done. The first phase 1 of audio was done. But he had no content online other than some pictures on Instagram. I knew what he looked like. I met him, knew what he sounded like, knew what he spoke like, knew what he was about. But we had no more, and still have no video out yet for fans. We're working on that behind the scenes, and we're trying to put that together. So hopefully in short order, that box will get checked. Live performance, I just talked about that a minute ago. For those who was at his Exit In show that he sold out, again, it's one you'd never forget. People were walking out of that building that night asking who was responsible, because they believed that it was someone in the music business that took Brin to a rehearsal hall, worked with him over and over and over. And the truth was, nobody did. It was all him, which in turn made everyone realize how brilliant he was. Fan discovery up to this point has been virtually organic. I was in Detroit a few weeks ago. I had booked a private tour for all the artists on the tour to go see the original Motown houses behind the scenes. And I'm walking on the tour, and 17-year-old girl from Detroit says, "What do you work on? What do you do?" You know, and I started telling her some of the acts, and she said, "Do you work on anything outside of country?" And I said, "Yeah, but you probably haven't heard of him. He's just starting out." She said, "No, what's his name?" And I was like, "It's this kid, Brin Joy from Nashville, R&B kid, you probably don't know." And she looked at me and just stopped in her tracks, and she said, "You mean Brin Joy, who has a song, Henny in the Hamptons?" I was like, "Yeah, he's from Nashville, he goes to Belmont, we met, and we're gonna start working together." And she stopped me for 5 minutes to tell me a story that went on and on and on, that all of her friends, teenage friends around Detroit, were passing this album around. And that's why I put it's organic fan discovery, so by the time we actually do get it on all the playlists, all those kids will be saying, "I told you so. I told you this album was gonna break." And as we all know, the best A&R, the A&R that bats 1,000, are the fans. They never make a mistake. And when you start to feel that happen, it's really gonna go, and it's time to really flip the switch on and turn all the marketing tools on that you can think of. Multiple phase marketing approach. The easy one for Brin is he has 4 reactive songs on an 8-song record. That's the truth. There's 4 of them that are good, there's 4 of them that are great. 4 of them are great, meaning fans are going nuts on them, and they're repeating them over and over, and the saves are big, and those are the ones that we're gonna hyper-focus and now create a marketing approach on those records. That's something you guys should be doing. Study your data on Spotify for artists. 100%, that is your guiding light. Hardy, renowned songwriter, releases country music's first mixtape. This was something we were sitting around a boardroom table trying to figure out a release strategy that made him different. His strength was that he could write 20 songs as good as most people could get to 5. He just has that ability. We were sitting around the boardroom one day, and one of us said to him, "You know, it's like you should drop country music's first mixtape." He said with a smile, he's like, "I think you mean Hicks Tape." And I was like, I absolutely could never unhear that. Let's launch Hicks Tape. And so we bought the trademark. I don't know if this is actually clear to everyone. We bought the trademark on Hicks Tape. So if you go to Spotify, you can find Hardy's artist profile, but you can also find the Hicks Tape artist profile. In rap music, you can go look at Quality Control, Dreamville, and others, and that was a marketing release strategy that we replicated. And so, teaser, spoiler alert, there's gonna be more Hicks Tapes, obviously. There's gonna be volume 2, 3, and 4. Most people thought that was just Hardy's project. It might be, but I doubt it. We could have a revolving door of great country artists who need a unique release strategy in any given year and be the centerpiece of Hicks Tape. And I think that's what's really cool. If you look at other genres, collaboration is king, and there's so many analytical reasons for that. Not saying it's one size fits all, I'm not saying you have to collaborate, but if you don't, you're denying yourself some supercharged fan discovery. One thing we've noticed is the artists who can put volumes of music out quick, it's judgment day faster. They love it or they don't, and when you get that love it sign, you can continue your multiple phase marketing approach. And here's some cool artwork. A graphic artist named Some Hoodlum made all these, and we rolled it out and worked with the streaming apps to make sure that on the first couple singles, we could have a lot of the profiles silhouetted to give obvious indication that there's surprises coming without being super cheesy in your Instagram comments. That meeting took 4 hours to think about that, believe it or not. And you can see, well, the first one is just Hardy, but there's Hardy and Wallen, and then of course the whole crew. So what we're gonna do is take the best songs from each of these projects, add them to it, add 4 or 5 more songs, and we're gonna make album 1. And I humbly think the path that he chose is gonna set him up for a huge, huge moment. And next year, where people see Morgan Wallen at now, I think you'll be thinking of Hardy like that this time next year. And I think it's due to some of these really unique rollout strategies. Again, more than anything, I think it's his great music. Any artist's great music, that comes before these cool ideas. Because we've all seen bands that have really great release strategies and really poor music. You can't outsmart the fans. I just want to reiterate that. Starts with the music. Don't focus on any other craft other than your music. And then when you got it and the people around you trust say you got it, then start asking all these questions and develop your strategy, but nothing comes before that. That's it. Thank you for listening about Brin and Hardy and let me ramble a little bit.
I'm Lena Stone. I'm an artist here in town. I noticed your point about releasing a lot of music and letting the fans kind of tell you what you want, or what they want to hear. But what would you say to independent artists like myself and probably a lot of people in the room who financially maybe can't release or can't afford to record and release 20 songs in a year?
You got to start somewhere. And I think, by the way, fans understand authentically, if you're independent, I don't think they expect you to have all the bells and whistles. I think there's something to be said for a guy like Luke Combs, or I'm trying to think of a female artist example. There's plenty out there who they authentically started from where they were at, told their story, and you put all your songs online before you go to Spotify and others, you can still get information right there.